We are going to look at the KEHANCHA shoe issue from a security perspective. From security perspective, many Kenyans would conclude that since it occurred in Migori, South Nyanza, and since Luos are known for stone throwing, then the thrower is a Luo. But many Kenyans don't know that this happened in Kuria land. Several people I talked to do not know that there is a tribe called Kuria. They were asking, is that not a name of a Kikuyu man? Yes, Kuria is one of the names of Kikuyu males. And yes, Kuria is a tribe. Kuria, the tribe, is similar to Kisis, as the Samburus are to the Maasai and Borana to the Somalis. 80% of the Kurias are in Tanzania and 20% are in South Nyanza. Such an incident is a nightmare to security experts, especially those in VIP protection worldwide. When I was still in active service, in those days when social media was not there, such an incident, I can tell you, has been discussed worldwide. And those who are attending VIP protection course, those who are attending intelligence officers course, both military and civilian, have set aside time to discuss that. So it is something to ordinary people in Uganda and Tanzania may not even have noticed it. Or if they've noticed it, they would brush it away. But I can assure you that both VIP protection personnel or experts and intelligence officers worldwide have picked it up. I have just said that during those days, mid-80s, such an incident would be discussed worldwide. What of today when there is social media? So it brings a lot of scare to members of the intelligence world, and it also brings scare to members of the VIP protection world when such an incident occurs. I have said in my videos that the car roof meetings are unnecessary and should be discontinued. President Ruto himself says a dozen times a day that he is not campaigning and that in 2027 he will sit for an exam, and yet he goes ahead to campaign. 2023, during the Raila demonstration on high cost of living, Raila and Oparanya were on a car rooftop when something like a shirt or a sweater, black in color, was thrown at Raila's face. He parlayed it with his hand, and I uploaded a video on its security implications. It was KTN that aired the clip. It just came and went. It just came and went. This is the problem with the Raila type of politicians. Kenya, we have two types of politicians. We have the Raila type of politician and we have the Kibaki type of politicians. The Kibaki type of politician will rarely cause such a security scare. When we talk of Kibaki type of politicians, we have Musalia Mudavadi in mind. We have Kalonzo Musyoka in mind and etc. These are the Kibaki type of politicians. But Raila, Ruto and others, they cannot see a crowd and fail to use the opportunity to say hi to the people. This is a nightmare to both intelligence experts and the VIP protection experts, of which I am an expert in both, although an emeritus. The question comes, supposing it was a gun or a grenade or so and so, etc., etc. This would have brought a lot of national tension. It would bring a lot of problems. If you can remember, and I want to remind you, we have a case of two police officers. The male police officer was a Kisii, and the female police officer was a Munandi. There was a shooting incident which involved a politician. By the time we knew the truth, and if you look at the video clips of what happened immediately after that shooting incident, a very senior politician and who is also a very senior security expert. He used to be a controller of the State House. He can be seen talking tribal. And by the time the truth came to be known, that this thing had nothing to do with the political issues. It had happened just immediately after 2007 election violence. A lot of people had died between the two tribes, the Kisii and the Kalenjins in Eldoret. Let us move on. When General Ogola died at Chesegon on the border of West Pokot and Elgeyo Marakwet, I saw that as an opportunity for the government to review our aeroplanes, especially with the KDF. To date, none other than Kalonzo, who keeps on saying that Ogola was taken out. Now, when we have senior people like Kalonzo Musyoka insisting that Ogola was taken out, and some people take it that way, we will confuse ourselves and forget that KDF, especially the Kenya Air Force, is a dumping place for aircrafts. A good example I can give is the example of you, every time you go to Oshago, you take those clothes which are getting old or getting torn and whatever, and you give it to a relative to you to have them. That is exactly what is happening with, that is exactly what we can talk about the Air Force planes. Developed countries, instead of disposing of planes, they give it to us. And you see, things like vehicles, ask any matatu person, they'll tell you that unless you want a personal vehicle or a private vehicle, but taking a second-hand vehicle and converting it to a matatu is very expensive. You'll use more money in mechanical things than buying a new one. That is what is happening with our planes in the disciplined forces. One would have wished that for us to learn a lesson with Ogola's death. But as I've said, we didn't learn the lesson, we moved on. During Moi's time, we bought 3 presidential planes, white in color. We bought them during Moi's time. They have not been replaced. They were bought when they were brand new. But you see, 25 to 30 years later, we still have not replaced them. When Rigiji insisted on a KDF chopper and was told that it was in service, people thought that it was the usual power struggle within the presidency, and that is why Rigiji was denied a plane. You remember there was a meeting in Nakuru where Rigiji was waiting for a military chopper. It did come. Then he hired a private chopper, which also did reach him where it is supposed to reach, and he attended a meeting after the president had come. We just saw it that the deputy president was arriving after the president. What we did not see is that and we also saw that he was denied a plane. What we did not see is that he wanted to use a Kenya Air Force a chopper, and it had a mechanical problem. Now, if he would have insisted and convinced them to take him to Nakuru with a Kenya Air Force chopper, and it fell, and he died there, we would have said, Ruto has killed his deputy. People will comment on such things in a comedy or a sideshow, and it will come to pass. We rarely do look at it from the security perspective. Let us look at it. Let us look at our journalist today. For up to a week, it will be just about the shoe that was thrown, the people who are arrested. They'll be taken to court. It will be reaching the court. It will say there was so big a crowd that it is really hard to identify if it is those people. Someone may be found with one shoe similar to that one. You'd say even the stamp. Yes, a lot of things. At the end of the day, it will be said that we cannot prove beyond reasonable doubt that the people who are arrested are connected to it, and then the case will die that. That is how we are. I want to remember the case of National Intelligence University. In its inauguration lecture, public lecture, the Chief of Defense Force happens to be the Chancellor of that university. So Kanyariri and Nurdin Haji gave very important talks on the openness of NIS and its university. People who know me, people essentialize things. People who know me since Kibaki's time, that is what I've been doing, demystifying NIS. I've been doing that single-handedly for quite a long time now. Now, National Intelligence University had an open public lecture, which was addressed by both Kanyariri and Nurdin Haji. But did the press cover anything about the importance of the lecture? No, they didn't. They didn't even cover the fact that that is the first time NIS as an organization was coming out to publicly demystify itself. No, they didn't. It is just when Kanyariri had a chapter, is it not a chapter? Had a paragraph, yes. It is when Kanyariri had a paragraph concerning the Moi must go issue. That is what was covered. Everything Moi. 90% of the press story covered that. Oh, Kanyariri. Now KDF have said, sijui what, they are not connected in issues of Moi, nini, Ruto must go. They are now concentrating. They have said their constitutional mandate, but there was very much. If at all you've been following what I've been doing, is it now for 2 decades? If you follow what I've been doing, is exactly what Kanyariri and Nordin Haji tried to do on that public lecture. But did the press carry that? No, they did. I've even been to media houses, very many, sometimes wanting to discuss certain things. And what have I been told? Very many occasions I've been told that currently the trend of the story that is now going on, I don't think that one will even get into the headline. Or I don't even think that even if it goes into the press, I don't even think the people would really be interested in that. There is a terminology they use, but I've forgotten. That is the problem. I'd like to ask President Ruto to remember one thing about my age mates, President Obama and President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Both were chain smokers before they became the president. But the callings of the presidents forced them to do something about smoking. Ruto, being a Railist, loves crowd. He cannot see a crowd and then fail to be moved by it. Same to all Railists or Railists in that I know. But the calling of his office, should do something about it. I have said in my videos, and I'll continue saying, especially now that we don't have a campaign nearby, he should stop these roadside meetings. If there is any meeting, let him call in stadiums and whatever. I know from where I'm standing, I know the advantages of roadside public gatherings. I know. But then he should look at the security of the country. He should look at the bigger picture and not his populism. You know, for people to go to a stadium, they have to be there a few hours before and after. In fact, in many stadiums, once the president comes, they close the stadiums. So people like roadside meetings for the simple reason that you just go there for 5 minutes and whatever. And also the president or the politicians prefer roadside meetings because that is easier to meet various people. You move from point A to point B to point C to point D, even to HIJ in within 30 minutes. But you'll meet more people by roadside shows more than you'll meet within a stadium. And a stadium, because so many people will be giving speeches and whatever, you'll find that at that time you'll waste a lot of time in the stadium and meet lesser people than roadside. But security dictates that remember, you are a politician, but most important, you are the head of state. You are the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, of the Kenya Defense Forces, and so many things. Please carry the dignity of that office and act as the dictates that you are not just you are Kenya.